Good evening from PLUGHITZ Studios in Largo, Florida. I'm Scott.
I'm Avram.
And we are here with episode 583 of F5 Live, refreshing technology for Sunday, December 20th, 2020. This show is a proud part of the Tech Podcast Network. If it's tech, it's here. This week, App Fairness is expanding its ranks, Russia is expanding its outlook, and HBO Max is expanding its reach, plus ways to prepare for 2021. Wherever you are and however you're accessing our show, whether it be on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or Snapchat, through a podcatcher, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, TuneIn, or a myriad of other options, through our live stream platforms, livestream.com, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, or for a few more months, Periscope, or on our website, PLUGHITZlive.com. Thank you for making us a part of your day. There are two ways that you can do that. First, you can join us live Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern by going to f5live.tv/join us. There you can chat with us during the show and give your feedback on the topics as we talk about them. Or you can always subscribe at PLUGHITZlive.com/subscribe. There you'll see all of our shows, including F5 Live, Piltch Point, PLUGHITZ Live Presents, and more, and of course find all of the ways that you can watch, listen, and follow along. So Avram, it's our last show of 2020. It's been an interesting year for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. It's been a long year, but it's not to say that 2021 won't be even longer. So who knows?
It's true. It's interesting. Kind of looking back when we were sitting in Las Vegas. I don't think any of us expected that 2020 would be 83 months long.
Yeah, well, it's only long because you want it to be over, but on the other hand, it's kind of arbitrary because a lot of people seem to think that things will get better just because the year ends, and
nope,
we're still gonna
that's
be
not how it
facing
works.
all the same challenges on January 1st that we were facing on December 31st. Although for my family, it actually has been almost prescient to the day because things started to go bad for us with my mother-in-law's health on New Year's Day last year.
Yeah.
So that it's been from the first day a bad year. But I'm thankful for all the things that have gone well this year, and all the great tech that we've been able to discover and enjoy.
Yeah, that's true. We've gotten to see some really interesting tech this year, starting at CES, and then right up through and including I still haven't even opened this thing yet as a product review. So I'm literally ending the year with new stuff. So
I have like a slew, and this is making me fall behind on my actual work. I have to admit, times after hours that I'd be putting into work, I've been putting into robot work because, for Christmas and Hanukkah, my son is getting a whole bunch of robot kits, and he expects me to. We're supposed to be putting them together, but he's always like, "Oh, I got to go to bed, but can you work on it after?" And it's just the little things that are really hard. Like, I actually had to get my wife to help with this. So, like, here's a camera mount from a robot car that we got him, right? And this is acrylic, right? A lot of these things are made out of acrylic. And you can see, like, I don't understand how they expect you to do this. You have to put a nut in, you have to hold the two pieces together with a nut, press a screw pressing against the nut. And when you put it in, you have to hold the nut in place while you're screwing it. You got to hold it like this so the nut just keeps falling out and rolling on the floor. And like, I don't know. They expect you to do this in zero gravity or something. I don't know. My wife was able to do it. She used her like long nails to like hold the nut while she
Nice.
screwed it. But like it's really, it's that kind of thing. It's not like technical knowledge that's a problem. It's the little acrylic things. And if
Yeah.
you screw wrong, you can crack the acrylic, and then your whole project is ruined.
Yeah.
Um, we I was so upset this week. I spent forever like working on this robot tank that my son and I got, and then I it was also like that with the acrylic, and I get it running, and he's like, "Oh, I want to try this," and he turns it on, and it was on the top of a table. And he's like, "Oh, I'm just using the camera part," and he drove it off the table, and all the acrylic pieces just cracked,
Oh no.
just into pieces, right? Uh, Fortunately, I wrote the company, and they're like, "Yeah, we'll send you the other acrylic pieces." Or I mean,
Yeah.
the body was metal, but like the camera mount was acrylic.
Yeah.
So
Because that's
in like a month and a half, I might get them from China.
that's the little blue thing you were showing us last week, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not so little anymore. Like we have it. I'm gonna be very gentle with it because. So
Yeah,
this
look at
tank
that.
here is a Yaboom tank. So like the top of it is what broke,
Mhm.
but what was really a hassle was that the wires in the back, the motor wires, right?
Uh-huh.
These are very, very delicate little wires, and they fell out of one of the motors before it even had that problem where it fell off.
Yeah.
So I had to solder. I had to take this, like take the motor out yesterday and take out my soldering kit and like solder the wires on, but they're very, very delicate. So if it drives into anything or anything brushes against the little wire, it might come out and need to be resoldered again. So
Our first
I don't
tech
know.
challenge kids deal with that problem fairly frequently.
You mean wires coming out of motors?
Yep. Uh-huh.
I don't know why they can't make a better way to keep it on. To keep it from falling. If you have any ideas of how I can keep it from falling off again, because
I'm not gonna lie.
what a pain.
I'm gonna pitch the question over to the kids and see if they've got a solution.
I mean, what the company that did this is they put hot glue around the wires, but I think but it still fell out anyway. So I don't know. Anyway,
that always seems like a great idea right up until you try it and it doesn't work.
Yeah. To make a long story short, that's been taking up my time, and I imagine that the week between Christmas and New Year's, when I'm supposed to be off but still have to do some work to keep the site running, I'm going to be spending an inordinate amount of time putting together robots, because not only do we have these two kits, but if the post office ever delivers it to me, I've got a whole bunch of stuff, of project kits coming from overseas for us to mess with. One that lets you make a little keyboard set with Raspberry Pi. One that makes you make like a little scrolling billboard. A glove that makes music when you like move the fingers.
I can't wait to hear
things like
how that one goes. Ever since you mentioned
that's actually not a Raspberry.
I've been excited to hear how that one goes.
Yeah, that should be cool. Hasn't arrived yet, but we'll see.
Well,
so
on that topic,
the last week will be very eventful.
On that topic, we've got a little bit of a public service announcement. It's not in our rundown, but just so people know, all of the delivery companies are running a couple of days behind right now. And so everybody should know this. Everybody's running a couple of days behind because everybody prioritized delivering the vaccines. I have a box that was supposed to be coming from a client, and it was supposed to arrive on Wednesday, and here it is Sunday. Still haven't seen it. And we called UPS, and they said, "Oh yeah, everybody prioritized vaccines. Everybody's running late. So
I think that could be an excuse because I don't think there are that many vaccine shipments. It's probably they're what I've been hearing the whole year was that the whole few months was that they're shipping. First of all, obviously the postal service has a lot of issues right now.
yeah. Well, kind of for decades, but yeah.
No, I mean, but when you have closed down a bunch of the sorting machines, that's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
And then you have just more people ordering things online than ever before. So
Definitely
I think things are just generally overwhelmed.
Yeah.
I don't think the vaccine is. I mean, I don't know what they know, but it sounds like a very convenient excuse to say we're busy shipping the vaccine rather than we just can't handle this volume of regular stuff.
Well, in fairness, they did make a public announcement. FedEx and UPS together made a public announcement when the vaccines first came out that they were going to have shipments delayed. I didn't see it, but they pointed our client to the announcement as why ours got backed up. Although it was only supposed to be a day or two, and here it is Sunday. But I still haven't heard anything about it. So again,
whatever the case, if you have to,
I don't know exactly how accurate.
Whatever the case, if you have to buy somebody a gift, here's a public service announcement. If you have to buy somebody a gift, and you want it to arrive by Christmas, don't buy a digital gift. Period. If you haven't already ordered it, it's too late, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, I just ordered some things today that are not gifts, that like light bulbs or whatever, and I'm not counting on them to arrive before Christmas, but it's not a gift. But like for gift, I actually still have to get another gift for someone, and it's got to be a digital gift.
Yep.
Like
absolutely.
It's got to be, and there are many, many digital gifts out there that you could get. Many games, e-cards, gift certificates of all kinds. So I think this is that's what you should do. But
for sure,
my one suggestion for that is to try to get someone a more personal and specific one, rather than to get them like an Amazon gift certificate, which is like so broad that you can get anything, but then it's like giving somebody cash.
True. Yeah, that's a good point. Try to think about the things that they're interested in. Right. That's always a good way of showing that you actually considered the gift. You didn't just go, Amazon's easy, or something.
Yeah,
like
I mean
that.
I kind of put it out there on purpose on Facebook that like people should get me an Adafruit gift certificate.
That's exactly. I was absolutely thinking that about you.
And I got someone for my let's just say people in my family saw that. But it's like so that's more specific than getting somebody like Amazon.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That's so funny because when you said that, my first thought was I know what that specific gift would be for Avram.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. At least I was right. At least my mind went to the right place immediately. So there's there's that.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, before we get down to news tonight, we have a special segment that we worked kind of together with a number of partners to put together a list of kind of ways to go into 2021 without some of the tech baggage of 2020. It all started because I was thinking about some of the things that I do on a regular basis, and one of them is checking batteries. During the holidays, it ramps up a little differently, but in particular, I was having a conversation with somebody that I have an iPhone 10 that the battery bulged on. The screen is angled. It's it's terrifying. I keep it in a little metal box because those batteries can explode. and those explosions on rare occasions can actually start a fire. So that's why I keep it in a little fire-safe metal box just in case. But be aware of things like that, right? There are things that can be harmful that you may not think about. Best case scenario, if it explodes, it's full of battery acid, which isn't good for whatever it touches. So that's what got this started. So I put the question out to some of the PLUGHITZ Live staff, some of our partners, and so our executive producer, Michelle, said that her thing before the new year, she's going to make sure all of her stuff is put away, because especially like for us, right? We've talked about this on air before. Well, for example, this thing's not put away.
I have a lot of stuff that needs to be put away.
Yeah, this thing's not put away. It's just chilling on my desk. If you could see the other side, because the other side of television isn't as glamorous. If you could see some of the stuff just outside of my view, there's things that need to be put away. But partially that's because we're about to tear this place apart. But we come back from an event. Maybe the backpack doesn't go away. Maybe the tripods don't get hung up. That type of thing. So that's going to be her project. Danielle brought up a great point. With so many people working from home for the first time, a lot of people are struggling with having a space. And we've talked about this on the Piltch point months ago now. But, not just having a space to work, but maintaining it. And so she said she's going to do a deep clean of her space and make sure it stays that way for next year. She even went through and put all the things, like she's got links to all the things that she bought to make the process easier. Screen cleaning gel for her monitors and her laptop, wire clips and trays to keep the wires organized. She found these cool side memo boards that clip onto the side of her monitor so she can put Post-its and things and not cover her screen. So I thought that was a pretty cool thing. Kirk Corliss, who is the executive producer of Geek News Central and the host of GNC Week in Review with me on Fridays, he went and found a couple of tools that allow you to like bulk unsubscribe from email lists. Total win.
That's smart.
Yeah, right. I loved that idea. And then so Dave, who's one of our floor producers, saw that and went, well, what about subscription services that maybe you've didn't realize you were subscribed to, or maybe you don't use anymore? You and I talk about all the time. I'm always about 3 days away from canceling Netflix.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of thing you could find here. Maybe you signed up for one of those free trials and you've been paying for it and you didn't realize it. So he's got some ideas on how to find that. You had your hand raised, Avram.
Oh, I was just going to say that's a great idea.
Yeah. Okay.
I have a similar idea.
Okay.
Just these that I'll throw in at the end when we get to it.
Terry Willingham from the Foundation for Community Driven Innovation that runs the Amrock Fab Lab. She talked about making sure, she likes to end her year going through all the photos and stuff that she takes and keeping the things that she needs and dumping all the ones that she doesn't. Because, we had, for example, during Roboticon, we had Mayor Jane Castor from Tampa at Amrock. And she and I and one of our volunteers together, we probably took 700 photos. How many did we need? Probably about 16 of them. A lot of them aren't great. They're not well framed. There's duplicates. So she's going to go through and dump all that. And then Sarah Grossman from the Drew Project took that kind of one step further and said the thing she does on a regular basis is she looks on her phone and finds all the weird random like screenshots and pocket photos that she's taken, you're in the store and you take a picture of a price tag Well, you needed it in the moment and you don't need it now. Or God forbid you're doing research on a ceiling fan like I did recently. I had 16 photos of like serial numbers and product models so I could find a replacement piece. Well, I don't need any of that crap anymore. So she's talking about dumping all of that and then going through and finding all those apps that she's downloaded and never used or hasn't used in months. To get rid of them to clear up space on our phone. So I thought all those were great suggestions. Avram, you've got one though.
Yes. So it's a new feature. I mean, maybe it's not a new feature and I just discovered it, but Chrome browser, for those who use Chrome browser, which is a lot of people, has a feature now where it tells you which of your passwords it thinks have been compromised. And you can go and look at it and see if about going through and changing those. I mean, some of them it found for me are for like things that like I don't even use, you know, like not even stores, but like forum that I was on years ago or whatever. But if you go to Chrome //settings/passwords/check, it will take you to the list and you can hit a button that says check again and it will actually go through all of your passwords to see if they were on some type of dark web list. I mean, it's not foolproof, but it will find but it finds things, and I definitely I don't know if they're false positives. I can't really say for sure,
right?
But it found some of my stuff on there, and I was like, "Well, I'm gonna go change these passwords now."
Yeah, good point. Or if it's for an old thing, you might even close the account out. There's
if you can, like, I don't know. Right. I actually don't know some of these things. I'm not even sure how I would get rid of the account.
But in some cases, maybe you can close out an account, and maybe that's the right thing to do. So that is a great point. And I just received a photo of somebody watching us on their TV, feet up. It's pretty wonderful. It's actually
awesome.
It's actually Terry, who we just mentioned in our article.
Oh, great.
Hi, Terry. That's funny. That feature, just for reference, that feature is not yet in the production version of Edge, but I did read that it was coming. So your password thing. But yeah, that's a great point. I regularly go and look at the compromised sites, but now that they've integrated that into the browser, I think that's a really great idea. Makes life a lot easier. So anyway, we've got details on that with links to Danielle's stuff and more information about all of our contributors at PLUGHITZlive.com. And with that, let's get down to the news of the week. This week's Nifty Gifties and F5 Live is proudly powered by Microsoft. Whether you're looking for a new laptop, a tablet, a console, games, or a whole lot more, you can get them all at the Microsoft Store. And remember that current students, faculty, family, and military can save up to 10% on almost everything. And to find out about all of the products that are available and the deals that are running, you can go to f5live.tv/Microsoft. So we've talked a couple of times about the foundings of this organization, but we may not have mentioned it by name. It's the Coalition for App Fairness. It is a group that was put together by Epic Games and Spotify following Epic's lawsuit against Apple and then Spotify's pretty loud objections to the way streaming services have been treated. Before this week, there were 49 members. This week, The 50th member of the coalition joined. Why does that matter? Not because the number is a nice round number, but because of who the newest member is. It is an organization called Digital Content Next, which is a weird name, but that organization represents most of the major U.S. news publishers, including the New York Times, the Associated Press, NPR, and they have come on for similar but different reasons to why most of the other publishers are there. Most are there because the strictly because of the 30% hit, what is known as the Apple tax, where 30% of your revenue has to go to Apple for using a feature that most developers don't want to use, which is the in-store payment system. The Digital Content Next has joined partially because of that, and partially because recently Apple announced that some publishers would get a different rate. They'd get a 15% rate. A number of small publishers and video streaming. Not music, not game, not news, but video streaming in particular was getting a decrease in cost. Obviously, a lot of organizations, including Spotify, one of the founding members, are not happy about this idea of reducing the price, the fee for just a small number of apps, and that includes some of the news organizations who obviously don't factor into that, but they also have issue with Apple News Plus and the control that Apple is trying to put over how news exists on its devices. So much so that when Apple News Plus was announced, the New York Times pulled all of its content out of Apple News entirely, which was a pretty big hit to Apple, and they've been working to try and get them back. It has not worked, and now they have joined the fight against Apple's closed wall. So I think this is a pretty bold move from this group, although they're not the first news publishers. A lot of the European publishers have already been part of the group. But what do you think, Avram? Might this be the push?
Maybe. I mean, I think Apple's trying to cut these lawsuits off at the pass by cutting their rate, but they're still basically they're still engaged in anti-competitive behavior no matter how you slice it, right?
Yeah.
Like, no matter how you slice it, they maintain control of the App Store, and they're taking a cut of everything that goes in. Is 15% more tolerable than 30% for those who would get the 15%, which is not being applied across the board? Maybe, but I mean, I'm sure that a lot of these publishers and Epic feel like it should be 0%. So,
or that the 30% is fair if you want to use the system. Which
right.
From a development standpoint, I can tell you that the ease of integration, I've done it on Apple, I've done it on Android, and I've done it on Windows. The ease of integration is so nice. But, is that ease of integration worth the 30% cut? The developers or the publishers should get that choice, and they don't right now. And I think that's the point. They don't get the choice on whether or not they want to use a feature.
And the users don't, right?
Right.
I mean, Apple has control. So, now it's tough to get people, like, it's going to be, if let's say Apple changes the code or is forced to change the code so that somehow they allow side loading of apps or side loading of stores. I mean, that's a tough marketing challenge for whoever is is trying to get the users to do that.
Yeah.
Because you have to educate them and how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, I'm sure it won't be enabled by default. It's not necessarily going to be easy to do. So, it's hard. Now, as Google has shown with Chrome, like I thought Chrome would never take off because Internet Explorer was built into the operating system.
Mm-hmm.
You have to go out of your way just a little bit and actually download and install this separate application. But it was a much better experience, and so people did it in droves. I mean, that says good things about how computer savvy people are. So, I think they have a shot. But as far as whether this is going to push Apple further, perhaps. I mean, I think ultimately it's going to come down to lawsuits. But I think what Apple is trying to do is to get these companies to maybe drop the lawsuit if we cut you a slightly better deal.
Possibly. There's also some theory that the reason why video streaming was given the 15% is because they're trying to woo Amazon onto the platform officially to allow subscriptions. But whatever the weird reasoning is, I think they were trying to accomplish a thing, and what they did was accomplish the opposite by riling people up by going, "Why aren't we included in this? Well, I don't understand." And I think that just upped the ante in a way that they weren't prepared for. So unintended side effects, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, not a whole lot is going to happen on any of these fronts with a new Battlefront, right, being added by bringing in digital content next. Going after Apple News Plus and things like that. But nothing's going to happen through the holidays. We probably won't hear anything particularly new until probably late first quarter of 2021 as they put their plans into effect, right? They're not trying to just jump in the way Epic did in the first place, fists a flailing. They're trying to put together a plan at this point and a coalition to be able to execute it. So we probably won't hear from them for a little while. It'll be a little quiet, but my guess is when they're ready to do something, they're going to do it. So we will keep our eyes on it. This week's Piltch Point with Avram Piltch is proudly powered by PureVPN. The best way to protect your privacy online is with PureVPN. You can hide your online activities, say goodbye to regional restrictions, and improve your streaming quality. Plus, it's available for almost all of your devices, and you can get a special price and a 31-day money-back guarantee by going to piltchpoint.live/PureVPN. So, obviously, we mentioned it earlier. It's the end of the year. It's the holidays. Yep. We've got lots of gift stuff going on. So what have you got for us tonight, Avram?
So, it's the end of the year, and at Tom's Hardware, we took this opportunity to round up the 15 best new products of the year. Best in terms of innovation, value, just really leading in their category. And we have this Best of 2020 awards on tomshardware.com, so I won't tell you all of them. But let's talk about some of the highlights. So obviously components are a big focus for us, and this was a great year for CPUs and GPUs. Our pick for the best CPU was the AMD Ryzen 5 5600X. Now, all of the Ryzen 5, all the Ryzen 5000 series chips are great. They are very power efficient, have lots of instructions per clock cycle, which means you're getting more for every megahertz. They're great new architecture. At $300, the Ryzen 5 5600X is fantastic, not only for multitasking with 6 cores and 12 threads, but also for gaming. And it actually outperforms Intel's 10-core, 20-thread Core i9 10900K at 1080p gaming. So this 7-nanometer chip is really good. Graphics cards, there's been an embarrassment of riches this year, although you can't, it's hard to get them.
Right.
But if you could get them, we really like the NVIDIA RTX 3080. For what you pay, you're getting really, really strong gaming performance, good enough to play really well at 2K and even decently at 4K if you could get it around $700. It's also been a great year for monitors. There were so many good ones, but this is the year that we actually saw monitors go all the way up to 360 hertz. So if you are playing games at high frame rates and you want your monitor to sync with it, our pick for monitor of the year is the Asus ROG Swift PG259QN. This is a 360 hertz monitor, so you can play it up to 360 FPS using G-Sync, using NVIDIA G-Sync, and you could, so if you're a professional esports gamer, that kind of thing might matter to you because it will give you more visibility into, if you're, doing an FPS, like shooting something that's going really fast in front of you. That is really impressive. This was also a good year for gaming monitors and gaming laptops. Asus, again, their ROG Zephyrus G14 is a really fantastic value and fantastic laptop for it uses an AMD Ryzen 4900HS chip. You rarely see before this year, you rarely saw really good AMD gaming laptops, but this is one. Great screen, NVIDIA 2060 graphics. So really good gaming laptop. This is also a year of faster and faster SSDs. If you have an AMD system, a recent AMD system, you can use PCIe Gen 4, meaning you can get much faster SSDs, and the best one you can get came out this year, the Samsung 980 Pro. This can give you 7 gigabytes a second of read or write speed. So that will just blow you away. And it's not that crazy expensive, $229 for the 1 terabyte. So, you're paying a bit extra, but not terribly much so considering the speed. Also, obviously, this was a great year for consoles. And there were 2 major ones that came out, the PlayStation 5 or the Xbox Series X. We think the Xbox Series X, because of the integration with Game Pass, is the better of the 2, but they're both really good. And it also obviously is a good year for maker and computer learning products. The best computer for kids of the year, I actually have in my drawer here somewhere, is the Raspberry Pi 400. This system here, which is a Raspberry Pi 4 built into the keyboard with all of the ports on the back. And you can get this for $100. Well, you can get it for less than $100, but the $100 kit gives you everything you need to get started, including the book on how to use it and program, and a mouse and cable and the power cable and all that stuff. So it's a great starting point for kids who are learning how to program. So that's pretty cool. So that's just, a quick breeze through our list of 15 great products. Definitely check it out on tomshardware.com, our best of 2020 awards.
And I know you didn't mention it, but one of the products that we did an episode on of the Piltch Point is on here, the Braincraft hat for the
Yes,
Raspberry Pi.
yes, yes. I love that thing. I love that thing. I was thinking about whether to mention that or the other thing, but I know we've beaten people over the head with it before. But I have it here in my drawer. Really cool.
Yeah.
Good for learning AI stuff. Good for doing AI modeling. That's another thing on my list to play with more over the break. So that there's embarrassment of riches of cool things to play with.
I'm still scanning down down the list. It's interesting. The sister motherboard to the one that's powering the show right now is also on your list. So that's pretty exciting. So,
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good motherboards. Our favorite of the year is the ASRock X570 PG Velocita.
mhm.
Really nice RGB, great performance. Uh, so there's a lot of there's obviously been a lot of great tech this year. The only problem was getting a hold of it, but hopefully at least some of these things you'll be able to buy right now, and others put on your watch list for later.
Yeah, I think as far as gadgets have been concerned this year, especially components, that's been the theme of the second half of 2020 is just put it on your watch list and maybe you'll get it eventually.
Yeah, I mean it goes for all kinds of products. It's not only
Yeah.
the major ones like CPU and GPU. It's webcams.
Yeah, we saw that
It's
early in the
it's
year.
everything.
Yeah. Well,
Oh,
it,
I think it's still going on.
at
I
least
think it's a little better the last couple of weeks.
yeah, at least we're starting to see some like official response on the big box stuff, right? Walmart canceled uh like 2 million pre-orders or something on scalpers on the PlayStation 5, I think. So, yeah, we're starting to see some response to it, but it's still hard to find these things. So, you know, it is what it is. Manufacturing, nothing has been easy this year, and manufacturing is no different. You know, even Apple was 6 weeks late on the new iPhones, which is unheard of. So, you know, been a weird year for lots of things, hardware being no exception. Well, Avram, that's a great list. I have interacted with a number of them, either through you, through the Piltch Point this year, which is fun, or physically here in the studio. So that's it's always fun to see something that you have hit a best of list. Means you made a good decision. So as always, thanks for bringing that to us, and I want to thank you, as always, for the last year of really great topics. We've talked about some really cool stuff this year, and some really unfortunate but helpful topics, like having to build a home office on almost the spur of the moment. You know, we've had to get into some weird topics, but I think we've had some really great topics on the Piltch Point this year. So, as always, thank you, Avram.
Oh, well, thank you. It's always a pleasure.
All right, and for those of you who are watching this kind of in time, this is our last Piltch Point of the year, and we will be back with the Piltch Point just in time for CES 2021, which is so weird to say because we won't be together, but we will be making the virtual platform work. It'll be similar to a normal show for us, as far as our pre-show is concerned. So we will see you back in 2021.
it'll be easier now because I won't have to, run back to my hotel room or anything.
Yeah, right.
Not going anywhere.
Yeah,
Won't have a problem doing it the Sunday before.
True, that's true. And
If you want to, I won't have a problem.
and I will get to sit in this chair over there with the new backdrop, and it'll be a pretty normal show. So anyway, we will see our viewers back in 2021. This week's Extra Life in F5 Live is proudly powered by Razer. Get all the accessories you need to up your game on your PC, console, or mobile device from Razer. Whether you're looking for a gaming mouse and keyboard like we use here in the studio, a webcam and light for your Twitch stream, a controller for your phone so you can use your Xbox Game Pass subscription, or an entire gaming setup like the Razer Blade 15, you can find it all at Razer by going to f5live.tv/Razer. All right, so we talked about it on the Piltch Point last week before we had all of the information, because the story has definitely evolved since last Sunday. Of course, I am talking about Cyberpunk 2077. Before we start on that topic, our more astute viewers may have noticed that my drink tonight is the wrong color, and that is because I figured it would be fun and kind of funny to drink the Cyberpunk 2077 cola during the show, since we're going to be talking about the game. So this is actually the official drink of the game, and this is what I've had all night.
Whoa, careful, you might crash. We don't know what that's going to do to you. Have you drank it before?
Nope. I figured, you know what? It
might slow you down.
It's the theme of the game. Everything's unpredictable. Might as well lean into it. In fairness, I do have water off camera too, just in case something went horribly wrong. So I was prepared for the possibility.
So what does it taste like?
It's a fair question. I can't place the flavor. My brother messaged me before the show and said, do you want to know the secret? And I said, no. I want to see if I can figure it out on air. I have not been able to nail it down yet. It's definitely cola with a kick of something, but I don't know. I saw my phone light up. I was wondering if that was him finally answering the question. I don't know. I don't know what it is.
Where does one get this?
I got it from him.
The supermarket?
So I got it from him. I don't know. But if you are not one of the people who is looking to escape the game entirely, or maybe you are and it doesn't matter, we are in no way associated with Rockstar Energy or the game or this drink, but there's codes under the cap there. The cans cost like $1.50 a piece, but there's a $1 Xbox code under the cap, and there's a code for like a month of Comixology. So basically they're free if you use the codes. That's the reason why he got them.
That's interesting. I'm wondering if you could compare that with Jolt Cola and do a face-off.
Interesting. I don't know.
Can you still get that in Florida?
Oh, certainly not.
Yeah.
Well, so the joke that Avram made at the top, Adam is laughing at me. He is almost certainly watching the show and responding. Yes. So the joke that Avram made about crashing is kind of the topic. The topic is that there have been all kinds of weird problems with this game, particularly when it comes to the console versions. Because it's not available on the new consoles yet, only the old ones. And The company never showed the gameplay on the old consoles. Possibly never actually. Okay, the answer is cherry cinnamon. So they possibly never actually played it on the old consoles because it does not seem to work. People have been complaining basically since launch. In our Florida gamer group, people have said that the longest that they've been able to play is 45 minutes before a hard crash occurs. It's been pretty rough. I know Tom's Hardware has been tracking all kinds of interesting issues. We talked about an AMD thing last
all
week.
Cyberpunk all the time.
Yeah. And it certainly hasn't gotten better in the last week.
Although interest has been kind of, not as high as it was last week. But yeah, Microsoft is still selling it, but added a performance warning to the Microsoft Store, to the listing for Xbox, the Microsoft Store. We just put up an article on how it scales different, how it scales in different CPUs. We also put up an article for those who want to try to play this at any cost on a PC. By any cost is any cost to graphics quality, on how to play it on integrated or low end graphics. So there are actually, if you're on a PC and it's being slow, there's a lot you can do if you're willing to sacrifice, special effects, shadows, resolution, things like that. I mean, we were able to get it to run at 30 FPS on integrated AMD graphics, but I wouldn't necessarily enjoy that experience.
Sure.
But yeah, it's the performance, has been taking a hit everywhere. Right now I'm working on a story about somebody already has done this. I'm just trying to reproduce it. Someone actually has been able to play it. So you're talking about how it can't run on like Xbox One and PlayStation 4, which are which are last gen consoles, but still a lot more people have them than have the new ones. But you can make it run on a Raspberry Pi. It might run like a slideshow, but if you use Steam Link, you can do that too. So there's ways,
That's actually really interesting. I'm curious. I've not looked into it. Can you run Cloud Ready on a Raspberry Pi? That would be interesting. Anyway, not the topic.
I don't know. GeForce Now you can, and by the way, you can play Cyberpunk on GeForce Now. So that's another solution for people who have a PC, and I think you may even be able to play GeForce Now on a phone. But people who have a
almost
PC
certainly
anyway,
not iOS.
yes. But you can. It is one of the games that you actually can play on GeForce Now, and so if you buy it through Steam, and also it plays pretty well on Stadia. So although you have to buy it separately via Stadia. So if you want to play, I guess what I'm saying is, there are many problems on console, but if you want to play it, there are ways to play it even if you don't have fantastic PC hardware. Because you can play GeForce Now, you can play through the browser. I think Stadia you could play through the browser. So if you've got a decent PC or a not decent PC and use cloud gaming, you can play this game. But for those who are on console, it looks really bad. And console people are experiencing what PC gamers have experienced for years, which is sometimes the game comes out and it doesn't work great out of the box.
Yeah.
And you got to wait for the patches.
Yeah. No Man's Sky was a great example of that that concept fairly recently. But in this case, part of what has happened is that the game came out before the publisher wanted it to. There were all kinds of delays, and I think they felt pressured into releasing it faster than it was really ready to be released. And, You cannot both complain that a game is taking too long and that it doesn't work when it's released too soon. But that's a whole different topic.
I mean, they had like the game. They weren't they working on this game for like 6 years. I mean, it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the problem is expectations could never really be met. Maybe what they should have done, I don't know how feasible this is from a marketing perspective, was just come out with the PC version and save the consoles for later. Because the PC version, I mean, look, yeah, I mean, I think some people have had issues with it, no doubt, but um, it works a lot better. And if you have decent hardware, it'll play okay. So, you should now. There are obviously other things going on with it, but I think generally the thing is they didn't have time to test it.
Yeah.
Now there's all these stories about the employees being angry at the management, at the company that makes it, CD Projekt Red, and then there's, I don't know. It's it all just strikes me as very sad. I mean, they probably should have delayed it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, for those of you who may have purchased it on console, there were some challenges early on with wanting to return it. CD Projekt Red tweeted something earlier this week, an official apology, and that apology came with a statement that was very confusing because it talked about returning the game on the Xbox store, on the PSN store, and then it turned out, oh yeah, you couldn't actually really do that, especially on PlayStation. And then, like Avram mentioned earlier, Xbox has a performance warning on the store, but has left it. PlayStation has pulled it entirely. Both companies are offering refunds, and CDPR has offered, if a retailer won't take the game back, if you bought it in a retail store and the retailer won't take it back, they will. So they're definitely trying to save some face at this point, but it is a complicated story because like, I mean, just in the last couple of minutes, you detailed so many unique and intricate issues.
There was also a patch. They're patching it all the time. Like they came out with, they said that they weren't going to patch stuff till January and February, but then they issued a patch Friday night.
Mm-hmm.
It was supposed to improve performance. So perhaps I'm playing dumb here, but if you bought this game and you really wanted to play it and it's giving you problems and you know they're going to patch it, why would you return it? Why not just put it down for a month and come back?
I completely agree. In fact, the statement, the apology, the kind of confusing statement said, we would appreciate it if you would give us a chance. Well, that was how the thing started. We'd appreciate it if you give it a chance. We understand you're upset. Please give us a try. But if you're not pleased with the game on your console and don't want to wait for updates, you can opt to refund your copy. So, there might be some more casual people who got it because of the hype and were unhappy. That may not understand what's going on. Obviously, those people who pre-ordered it and have been following the story for years and, watched the E3 press conference and all that stuff, they're not going anywhere. They're gonna ride this horse until it's out of energy. But
one possibility though is that the people who might want to return it so they could buy it on a different platform.
That's a possibility.
Like if you. Because I'm sure they'll do something to make it get better on those old platforms, but at the same time, you probably won't have as great an experience.
Sure.
So if you have a decent PC and you bought it for the PlayStation 4 for some reason, maybe you wanted to play it in the living room or something like that, then maybe that is a good idea to because the PC version seems to have a lot less problems and. If you've got decent hardware, the sky is the limit for running it. So,
I also don't know if the game comes with next gen upgrades, which I assume that it will. For best performance, you want to take advantage of the next gen upgrade. Yeah, it sounds like if you bought it for Xbox One or PS4, you'll get the Xbox Series or the PS5 version when it's available. So maybe that's why you bought it for for the current gen is for that upgrade later. But
I mean, one thing that, here's my, I'm sure that CD Projekt Red, the company made it, is watching right now. And so here's my advice to them. What they could do, call Google up and ask Google to give everybody a Stadia trial to run it on Stadia while they're awaiting the patch. Because it runs well on Stadia. And this would be an opportunity for Google to get people trying Stadia. Yeah. And this would be an opportunity for CD Projekt Red to give people a can't miss copy that works. So
it's a clever
if you have a computer or even a phone, it'll run on your phone.
Yeah.
So
including on iPhone in the browser.
Right. So, I mean, you can, that works. We tried it. We have an article. I mean, among our many Cyberpunk articles, if you search on Tom's Hardware, Andrew, senior editor Andrew Friedman tried it. So it worked well.
And interestingly, in the promo at the top of the segment, when I mention a device for your mobile device, those controllers are specifically designed to work for things like Stadia and Xbox Game Pass. So that's a great way to play it too. It's almost like playing it on a Switch. I have one and that I use for Xbox Game Pass, and it works real well. It kind of feels like you're on a Switch, and that's not a bad thing. So, it would, you're right. Working with Stadia would be a brilliant move, and they won't. It's a great idea.
It would be good for Google too, right? I mean, Google needs to get more people to try Stadia. So
yeah, that would be a great idea. It's free business advice, guys.
I'll tweet them. I'm sure they'll take my advice.
This week's news for the tubes on F5 Live is proudly powered by RiffTrax. Make fun of movies or let these guys do it for you. Mike Nelson, Bill Corbett, and Kevin Murphy, the former stars of Mystery Science Theater 3000, are back and doing what they do best. Creating commentaries for Hollywood blockbusters, B-movie oddities. It's like watching a movie with your funniest friends. And you can find all of the feature films, the short movies, the TV episodes, and live events, all by going to f5live.tv/rifftracks with an X. Oh, so if there's one thing that we all know, if there's one truth in the world, it's that the internet is a dangerous place. It kind of always has been. Things have always evolved. There were Nigerian prince scams decades ago. Those have gotten better. Phishing has gotten more sophisticated. You've got, fake profiles on Facebook and Instagram that try and steal your contact information. But malware continues to be a big part of the dangers online. We've talked in the past about, being careful what you download on your own computer, clicking links, and when they pop up and say, we're installing something. No, thank you. If that's not what you meant to do, don't do it. But in some cases, it happened kind of out of view. And that's what happened several months ago, but was only revealed this week with a product called SolarWinds. If you've never heard of it, that is okay. It is, unless you're an IT manager for a large organization, you probably shouldn't have heard of these guys. The software is used for managing and monitoring network computers remotely. And Update was compromised several months ago, I believe 8 months ago, something like that, and by the seemingly innocuous sounding Cozy Bear, which turns out to be a Russian state-sponsored hacking group, and they put a backdoor into an update that gave them direct access to something like 18,000 customers worth of networks. Among those customers, the U.S. government, including the Department of Defense. So there obviously are a number of problems here. Having a direct backdoor into the DoD's computer systems, not great. Having Russia with the keys to that backdoor, even worse. But not knowing what happened is the worst. It is currently estimated that it could take up to 20 years of forensic research to figure out exactly what was accessed. And by that point, it's too late. So, what? Are they going to have to operate under the assumption that every file is out in the wild? Every secret that the DoD had on these networks has been compromised? That's not a good place to be, right?
Yeah, no joke. Also, what private customer? I mean, the the U.S. government is going to handle or not handle its own business, and as private citizens, there's not much we can do about it.
Right.
But we can feel bad about it. But I do worry about stuff where my own data might have been compromised, right? Like
Microsoft.
What are some of the things where we might have had accounts?
Microsoft's systems had SolarWinds installed in certain places.
Yeah, I mean, so far, no one has said like change your password or something. I don't know but do they even know?
Nope. And so that leads us to major problem number 2. The companies and the networks that are affected don't know what may or may not have been accessed, or whether the backdoor was utilized on their systems. But on the other side, SolarWinds is a very low-level piece of software. And because of that, it's possible that the servers that have been compromised are done. They may not be salvageable without a complete reset, which is essentially the equivalent of replacing the server. That's not good either, for so many reasons. Obviously, the amount of cost involved in this is going to be exorbitant, whether it be the government or Microsoft or any of the other 18,000 customers, including other foreign governments. The British government was using SolarWinds and a number of others. The cost is going to be exorbitant. And so there used to be in IT, there were 2 main tenets. And they have annoyed those of us who are not in IT forever. And because of that, we have seen some of the rules be laxed or skipped entirely in recent years. The first is that you don't use unproven software. SolarWinds was unproven software. It's a fairly new system. It hadn't been massively tested before everybody jumped onto it. And so that's always a problem. Putting something from an organization that is fairly unknown onto mission critical hardware is always a bad idea. The second is you never do updates on mission critical software without massive security and integration testing. How often, Avram, when Microsoft puts out a major Windows update, do we have to write and talk about all the things that have gone sideways? Because because there's so many things they're trying to, so many different pieces of equipment that they're trying to touch. Even Apple in this last update took out old computers with a thing where you're typing and everything's in slow motion and dropping keys. That was a huge pain. But that happens all the time. And so that's why your company laptop is almost never up to date on Windows updates, because IT is testing it. And yet here we are.
So if on any given day, I dare anyone to go into Google News and type Windows Update and see what the bad news is. So like a most recent Windows 10 update is causing system lag and crashes. There was something with messing up data on SSDs that I saw recently, high CPU usage. And that's Microsoft. Microsoft, is a giant company that should be able to do better, right?
And literally, the last, this was done a number of years ago. Microsoft was the second most stable software developer. They had the least number of bugs per 1,000 lines of code, second only to NASA. Now, NASA still smashed an orbiter into Mars, but everybody makes mistakes. But Microsoft at one point was the second most stable software developer, and they still have these kinds of problems, which is why IT organizations don't roll out Windows updates automatically. In my office, on my main computer, the one that we edit the show on and stuff, that was delayed. That's delayed on Windows updates, usually 6 to 8 weeks, because I want to hear what problems people are having before I risk it. And yet something this low level, this mission critical, didn't go through security audits before being installed. That seems insane to me.
I should also point out that now I hope that some of these computers that had the most sensitive information were air gapped, which for our audience benefit, that means that they weren't connected to the network.
And have never been.
Or they connected to some other network.
They have never been connected to the internet.
Never been connected to the internet, but can an air gap computer be connected to other computers?
Yes, but none of them can be connected to the internet. None of them could have ever have had access to the internet for it to still be called air gapped. Right.
So there's been apparently a researcher came up with a way to turn RAM into a Wi-Fi signal that sends data from air gapped computers.
Yep.
I also saw something. This seems like more of a stretch, but some people have come up with ways of recording keystrokes. You'd have to have a sound recorder and know the exact cadence of the keyboard, but apparently you can tell what letter someone is hitting, possibly. If you knew the keyboard.
There's a thing that came out a couple of years ago. There was a security researcher who was able to determine the data that was being read and written on a spinning drive based on sound.
That's crazy.
I know.
I didn't realize there was a way to turning the sound into data. That's...
I know. That was a fascinating research paper to read. But
more reason to use an SSD.
Indeed. But those require access, right? Those require physical access to the computers. This did not. This just required hacking into SolarWinds update system and compromising an update. It's impressive.
Yeah.
It's one of the, and I'm going to preface this by saying that it's like super villain level evil, but it's also super villain level clever, right? It is an unbelievably clever hack to have found the one, this one seemingly small company, obviously small enough that it was easy to get in and they didn't know, to their update system and change an update to affect most of the internet. It's clever.
Yeah,
It's diabolical, but it's clever.
I think that really points out that the IT department should not have been using this company. I mean, you were talking about how they shouldn't use unproven software, but when people I work with have a problem with their IT department, it's not because the IT department has decided to use unproven software. It's because, hey, I want Photoshop on my computer. Oh, well, we don't know if that's proven software or, whatever. I want this keyboard macro thing.
Yeah.
Like
Photoshop.
That's not stuff that can do this.
Photoshop, which is quite literally the most proven of software,
Yeah. Or whatever. I used to work at a company where maybe this makes sense now, but you'd have stuff running that would nag you to update it, like QuickTime or whatever, like the QuickTime plugin. And every single time this would nag me, I'd have to call the IT department. Listen, could you just type in your password so this thing can update itself? I don't know. Yeah. Is it good? I have to test it. What do you think? You're going to test it more than Apple? But at the same time, at the same time, you can see why there's a problem. But this is a problem not because the end users wanted something to improve their life.
Right.
It's because the IT department wanted something to improve their life.
Yes.
And it wasn't, and it had high level access.
Right.
Or low level access. It had access to everything.
Yeah. And that's always a frightening place to have software. And if it's not from your server vendor, it's probably the wrong thing, just in general. And even if it is, it might not be the right thing because, we've seen, a year and a half ago, Lenovo had issues with malware pre-installed on laptops and things. So even if it's pre-installed, it may not be the right management system, but it's such a weird and complicated story. And there were so many places where red flags should have been going up and everybody seems to have just ignored them. When the exact same people, like you were saying, QuickTime, I've got a client laptop in my office that the little Windows update icons had a big red exclamation point for weeks because it's all kinds of concerned about something. And they're not worried about it because they're testing the update. And yet here we are not testing the update on literally the most mission critical possibility. So, I mean, this is a mess for a lot of people. And I don't know that we'll ever know quite the scope of what happened. I don't know that it's possible that we'll ever know the full scope. So. This week's DRM Not Included on F5 Live is probably powered by Amazon Prime. In addition to your free shipping, you get a lot of benefits, including free music with Amazon Prime Music, free TVs, movies, and documentaries with Amazon Prime Video, free games, and a free subscription with Amazon Prime Gaming, your subscriptions on Twitch, and a whole lot more. And right now, we have quick links to all of those features and more, plus a 30-day free trial if you're not currently a subscriber, and an option to give Prime as a gift if you know somebody who is a big Amazon Prime user, Michelle. We've got all of that available by going to f5live.tv/prime. So after that, the last two stories, which have been pretty harsh, I wanted to kind of end on a positive announcement note. HBO Max is officially available on Roku. It's been kind of a running joke within our group. Is HBO Max ever coming to Roku? It only makes up 68% of all streaming. Are they ever going to get it? I could probably build a Roku app tonight and have it published tomorrow. What's going on? Whatever was going on and whatever negotiations had to happen have finally happened. If you had an old HBO app on your Roku, it will update to HBO Max. If you did not yet have it installed, maybe you were not an HBO Go or an HBO Now subscriber, and you are a Max subscriber and you need to download it, it is available for you. And HBO Max is also officially available on the PlayStation 5. So that leaves the Switch as the only currently produced gaming console to not have it, because the PS4, Xbox One, and Xbox Series S/X have had it since launch. PS5 is now in there. Switch is the only thing that's missing. But Switch isn't really used as a media device the same way that the other guys are. So I think it's officially available in all the important places at this point. So that's a good thing for a lot of people, including you, Avram, right?
Yes. I was very excited to read about this. So apparently it was a matter of money. I didn't realize this, but Roku gets a cut. I guess you can buy the HBO Max through it, or you could buy HBO Go through it. Mm-hmm. So they wanted a certain cut, and HBO didn't want to give it to them, and that's what happened. But thankfully, that's been resolved, because I was about to order it and hope it would come in time, a Fire Stick, so I could watch Wonder Woman on Friday, because that's something my wife and I have been really looking forward to. To watching Wonder Woman 1984. So now we'll be able to do it, and I'm just looking through the cool stuff that's on HBO Max right now, and they have, I didn't even realize this, they have a giant section of Looney Tunes. Like, I think the classic ones and newer ones, they've got a whole bunch of like Looney Tunes things. All the stuff that's on HBO, obviously, but let's see, they've got Adult Swim stuff, Cartoon Network things, Turner Classic I didn't even realize they have Turner Classic Movies on here. Wow, this is better than I thought. So my mother would actually like this, because they have Golden Age musicals.
Really? Now that I didn't know.
They have I don't know. So it's definitely, I don't know how many they have, but it's pretty cool that they it's not necessarily easy to find old movies and old shows. I think Prime actually does a better job of this than Netflix. You can actually watch some older stuff on Prime. So I mean, it's definitely, I mean, it's an expensive service, but if you were going to have HBO, or you might have HBO, or if you already have HBO through cable, you may have it already, right? It's, and then of course you've got the originals, like did I mention on our last show that I got to watch? By the way, I got to watch. Was it at Class Action Park, which was a documentary, an HBO Max exclusive documentary about Action Park, which up here in the Northeast was a big thing.
We may have talked about that
Parker.
off air, to be fair.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So that was, I kind of recommend that, but it also is kind of, the framing of it made me a little bit uneasy, that they were a little flippant about some of the stuff when people died. And then, I mean, I want to watch, they have Raised by Wolves, which is a Ridley Scott based sci-fi show. So there's some interesting stuff on here. I definitely, especially now that you can watch it on Roku, because I mean, if you have a TV, that's the best way to watch, to bring, streaming to your TV. So,
or maybe it already is. The TV that you're on is a Roku TV, because I couldn't not.
Yes, that's true. That's
it's
true.
So
there's some of
prevalent.
those.
It's so prevalent that this screen that it's just out of frame, or if you're watching live, it's just barely in frame because I moved the camera today. The TV that Avram's on here next to me is a Roku TV, because I couldn't find one that wasn't. That's how prevalent it is, and it's the reason why it accounts for, I think the number is 68% of streaming is done through Roku. So,
yep.
Anyway, so it's a big deal. I'm very glad to hear that it's there. It ends a very long running joke on several shows, including this one in GNC Weekly. So, hooray! Obviously, the timing was very important for 1984. Like, that's the reason why the timing was so important. They had to be on Roku before Christmas, and if they were not last week, it wasn't going to happen. So, hooray! Well, that is our show and our year. Thank you to those of you who joined us live. We've had some people in the chat room, including I don't know, Chuko Games, who came to us care of our videos on the Monster Luminescence products. Thank you for joining us tonight, and thank you for our regular listeners and viewers for joining us all year. Obviously, we very much appreciate our listeners and our viewers. We do the show for you. We do the show for you, not for us. So we're glad to see that so many people enjoy it. In fact, just some interesting numbers. This year in 2020, we had as many unique views on YouTube as we have in our entire history coming into this year. So we doubled our views just in 2020. So thank you, everybody, for making that happen. That's super exciting. We also doubled our YouTube subscribers. And for the first time ever, 2020, we had a combined over 1 million unique views between YouTube and our RSS feeds. So that's a new milestone for us. So thanks to everybody. Danielle and I were all excited about that number earlier. That's a big place to be. So that is all because of our listeners and viewers. So thanks on that. And again, Avram, thank you for another great year of F5 Live and the Piltch Point.
It's such a pleasure doing this every week. It's just an honor to be able to do it. Can't wait to come back in 2021.
And
when will we be back?
The 8th. No, the 8th is the first episode of GNC Week in Review. So that
are we doing it the 3rd, or are we doing it the 10th?
So probably not the 3rd. It's going to come down to where we are in the studio build, which was going to be my next topic. When we come back, this is all going to look different if you're watching us and not listening. We have been working on a new backdrop. right there. You can't see it, but I can. Because we've had this for a very long time. This will be staying. We'll use this for things like PLUGHITZ Live Unboxed and How To and things like that. And F5 Live and Piltch Point will spin over to the new studio next year. So it'll all come down to how far into the build. We're using this time down to finish the build. So we'll see. We'll keep everybody posted on how it goes. Next weekend is going to be our hard build time. So anyway, the music is coming to an end. Give me a second and we will kick it back on again. Anyway, so next weekend is going to be our hard build and we'll see how it goes. We might need another weekend. So we'll keep everybody posted. And again, thank you to everybody. We have, just because F5 Live and the Piltch Point aren't on doesn't mean we don't have new content, because I've done it a couple of times. I've still got an unboxing of this product here that I have to film. It might be done tonight. So there's still content coming. So keep an eye out for that. And on behalf of the staff that's not here, I'm Scott.
I'm Avram.
And we will see you next time and next year. Have a great holiday, have a great new year, and we'll see you in 2021. Hello, YouTube. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this episode of F5 Live, Refreshing Technology. If you did, please subscribe to the channel down below, and of course hit the notification bell, because we know that subscriptions don't mean much on YouTube anymore. If you've got topics that you'd like us to talk about in the future, please comment them down below. And if you'd like to not follow us on YouTube, there's lots of ways that you can follow along with our content by going to plughitslive.com/subscribe. There you'll see all of our shows and all of the ways that you can watch, listen, and follow along.